Certainly, well, first of all, we're honored to play against a program like Texas A&M. Certainly what they're doing now under Coach Sumlin and their history, their tradition. Obviously one of the more exciting teams in all of college football over the last couple of seasons. It's been fun to watch them until you had to start watching them to prepare for them. That changes a great deal then. Our week has been special. It's been diverse in the events. I've watched our players enjoy every part of it, from playing games at Dave & Buster's to an incredible FCA breakfast, a great message that was delivered there by Derek Brooks and Steve Fitzhugh. And then from cart riding to visiting Children's Hospital to the Martin Luther King Jr. experience yesterday. You've said it best when you say live, laugh, and learn. And we've been able to do all of that and practice a little football. So we're very appreciative of Gary, your leadership and the organization, and the communication that you've given us with the Chick-fil-A Bowl. So I'm glad, I'm sure like Kevin is, it's time to play football now. But It's been a great week.
All right, thanks, Coach. Coach Sumlin, your comments on your experience so far.
You bet. I just want to echo what David just said. I think look out, for us, it's been a unique experience. I had players raise their hand. How many of you guys ever been to Atlanta? I think we got 4 or 5 guys on our whole team that have ever been here. And so it's everywhere we go has been exciting. And just like David said, the competitions outside of football, Dave & Buster's, the Children's Hospital visit, just the whole bowl experience here has been great. Gary, thank you for your hospitality and all the Chick-fil-A people. It's been very, very special. And you know, just like David said, we've had the opportunity to practice and being at Georgia Dome, as soon as we walk in there, you know, you can feel the energy level of the team pick up. So many great players, so many great football games that have been played in that building. It's a real honor to be here. And for us, from the SEC, I think, you know, as a coach, you're always looking down the road. And, you know, there's a pretty important game here that's played at the end of the SEC season with the championship game. And with this bowl game moving, being a part of the championship series that's coming up, hopefully this will be a great experience for our young players and will give us an opportunity to maybe get back here and play a few more times. So it's been a great experience for us, and just like everybody else, our fans are rolling in, and we're getting ready to play a great football game in an unopposed time spot, which helps both our programs and our universities, and just a great experience.
All right, thanks, Coach. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. All right, where are we going to start?
Well, we've done a good job.
Well, that's easy.
I'll tell you what. All right, thanks, gentlemen.
See you tomorrow.
Chuck Oliver. Thank you, sir.
Coach Cutcliffe, beyond the statistics of Texas A&M's defense, when you watch film, what jumps off as the biggest challenge against those guys?
Well, their defensive football team's got some talented individuals up front. It always starts there. They have size and quickness, and they use their hands really well. Linebacking core that makes a lot of plays. Safeties that are big and will hit you. Corners that can run. I mean, they've got the right ingredients. They play in a league to where they're challenged every week in a huge way. And so these are tested, experienced football players. And so the thing that challenges us the most is we've got to be consistent. We've got to manage the down and distance. We can't have a bunch of bad plays and be successful against their defense.
Okay, back here in the back.
Coach Cutcliffe, what did you learn from the team's first experience with their bowl last year, going to the Belk Bowl, and how have you been able to apply that going into this year's bowl game?
You know, I think the thing that our players have been able to do is to manage the balance a little better than we could a year ago. It was a first-time experience. We really had no one in the program other than the coaches that could kind of guide them as to what to expect. This year, our leadership, our guys talked to our younger players at home about what to expect, what they expected as a team from them. I don't think there's any leadership like peer leadership, and so by going back to back, it gave us that opportunity.
All right, where are we going next? Okay, right here in the middle.
David, how do you keep your offense from feeling like, you know, there's pressure on them to score every time they touch the ball?
You know, and it's a great question because the obvious is that Texas A&M has created that in a lot of ball games. They're so dynamic offensively and dominant offensively. You just have to practice and practice properly, understanding that execution is the key, one play at a time. You can't think out front as to what you're having to do as a player. You've got to play that play, and so we've worked hard on that mentality, but not just for this ball game. That's a mentality that we work on when we start spring practice, of understanding that we've got to play that play.
All right, we're going over here on the left.
Kevin, yesterday some of the Johnny and DeShazer Everett both said that the offense has had a little more swagger, you know, the last couple of days. Have kind of gotten back in rhythm. Is that something that you've noticed as well with Spavital calling the plays?
You know, I think you know, it was a taxing year physically and mentally. You know, some really close games that won a few of them, lost a couple of them, and we just took some time at the end of the year to step away physically and mentally, and I think it's helped us. I like our energy level right now. I like the bounce that we've got, and you know, it'll be interesting to see. I think it's pretty well documented where we were physically at the end of the year in a lot of key positions. I think that we're finally healthy again in a lot of those key positions, and because of that, you know, naturally the energy level will go up.
All right, right here in the middle, please.
Kevin, a lot of people worry about the long layoff. Did you draw on anything from last year, the Cotton Bowl, looking forward to this bowl?
You know, we do things the same way. I mean, it's, you know, what we play last year, the 6th, so it was a longer layoff than we have right now. And, you know, in certain ways, I think this team needed it. I think that that space, that time after our last ball game is something that this particular team needed. And I think it relates back to what the question I just answered. I think the little bit of a layoff kind of helped us this time, and from an energy standpoint, just to get back and get healthy.
All right, next question.
Yeah, this is for both coaches. So you talked a little bit about your experiences this week. How does this bowl week compare with others you've experienced in the past, and how well suited is it to host the college football playoffs next year?
Go ahead.
All right. We have very experienced people running this bowl game, and you can always tell. It's all about organization and communication. You've got a great venue in Atlanta, as Kevin mentioned. Young people are going to have a good time here. There's a lot of things to do. But if you're not organized well, if you don't have a plan, which they have, it can get difficult, because we're here to play a football game. You've got to have meetings. You've got to have preparation. You've got to give a squad and coaches adequate time to work. They're able to do that. The events were precisely on time. They ended on time. You have an itinerary. You like to stay on schedule. So with that said, they are very prepared to handle any magnitude of football game. As the stakes go up in a playoff, obviously it's a bigger game, and preparation is more of the key, and all you would do would alter a little bit of that. but still stay organized and communicate well, which is what certainly the Chick-fil-A Bowl people do.
Coach Sumlin?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The organization, the time management, practice venues. We've been at the Georgia Dome. We've been over to Georgia Tech and their indoor facility, which is very, very nice. And the logistics of moving teams, getting to practice, coming back, being on time. Chick-fil-A Bowl people have been extremely organized, and you can see why. This will be part of the playoff series, and what a great city this is. Right here, a lot of things for our players to do, but as David said, I think the organization has been the key with the events that have been competitive outside. Going to the Hawks game, being at the Children's Hospital, doing things in the community, but also the organization of the practice sites and the logistics of travel between the hotels. It's been wonderful, and that comes with experience and leadership, and you can see why that this particular bowl game will be part of a bigger picture down the road.
Okay, here in the back.
Coach Sumlin, how much have the players and everybody in your program embraced the opportunity to do something that's never been done at A&M, and you're now on the eve of the game and winning 3 straight bowl games?
I think it's every year you're looking for something different, and for our seniors, I think it's a big deal. I think in the many years that we've played football at Texas A&M, for any player or any team to do something that's never been done is something that you can always have, and something you can talk about forever, like our seniors last year, with only 4 teams to win 11 or more games. And for this group to have that opportunity can really keep setting a standard for this program, and I think it's important to them.
Okay, here in the second row.
David, last year when you guys got to the Belk Bowl, you said you knew they would play well because they had prepared so well. I'm curious what your assessment is this year on that front, given you've had some distractions with injuries and suspension and things like that.
We have practiced really, really well. I'm a big believer, obviously, as you well know, in that, and we've had things that we've had to deal with all season, and since we've been at Duke. And it's been no different in the bowl preparation. We've just picked up and continued to go practice. Again, I'll mention our peer leadership, our captains, our seniors. This is important to them, as Kevin just mentioned. It's seniors' last football game, and so it's going to be important to them, and they have set the tempo well. We prepared well in Durham, and we certainly have done the same thing here.
Okay, right here, second row.
Coach Sumlin, you mentioned that it had been a physically taxing year, and some younger players have had to step up, particularly in the front 7. Would you mind talking a little bit about how that's helped the team and which players have really stood out? Well,
It's this time of year, you're pretty much over with being young. They've been playing since the first game, and 13 games into this thing, you've got some experience, and they've been through a little bit more than what they probably thought they were going to be involved in earlier in this season. So we depend on them a lot. This will be a big game for a lot of our younger players. Jordan Giovanni's going to have to step in there and play very, very well for us, because offensively, Duke presents some real challenges with their running attack, play action, so for our young guys, we're going to have pretty good really good eye discipline, and be ready to play a physical game, because that's where all these football games, in particular, I think this one, that's where the real matchup's going to be, and our young guys are going to have to step up and continue to keep playing. And I'm trying to get away from the term young guys now. Shoot, they're 13 games into it, they better be ready to go.
Okay, right here.
Kevin, you've been obviously a key part of helping Johnny through a wild ride that really no other college football player has ever been through before. What are your thoughts about how he's handled himself, how he's kind of come out on the other side now?
It's you know, it's kind of interesting. You know, we went through the year, and I think people were shocked that it was kind of quiet. So you know, you've got the off-season part. Then we got to the football season. I think he was extremely focused this year. I think he moved from an athlete that was playing quarterback to a quarterback that's an athlete. I think he's improved as a passer, improved in his knowledge of not only what we're doing, but his knowledge of defenses, and I think that shows. That being said, you know, it's kind of crazy. We ran him a lot more last year. He didn't get hurt. You know, this year he didn't run as much, and you know, you get hit a hand on a helmet or a couple of little things here and there, and so that's just kind of how it bounces. And I think, as I said, the last couple weeks, the layoff, in a certain respect, helps us, not just for him, but for a number of players on our team, as you said, because it was we kind of limped into the end of the year.
Okay, back here in the back.
This is for Coach Cutcliffe. We're talking about Johnny Manziel. What do you think about him and trying to contain him? I mean, that's going to be a big part of keeping these guys at bay.
Well, I don't think contain is maybe a word we could use. It might be slow down. You know, being a quarterback guy, it's I agree with what Kevin just said. You see growth even as the season went along. He's an outstanding quarterback. He's not just an athlete. He beats you in a lot of different ways, and certainly he's got a great receiving core. His ability to create plays is second to none. In my lengthy career, I really haven't seen a player that creates and ad-libs as well. And it's certainly in part to his athleticism, but there's coaching involved in that. He stays alive in a pocket, but his receivers move with him well. It's not an accident that they're completing a high percentage of passes when he starts to create. So Kevin mentioned eye discipline. It's going to take eye discipline and technique to compete at any level against what they do offensively and what Johnny Manziel can create. He's a great football player.
Back here.
Coach Cutcliffe, what would an 11th win mean for your program?
Well, Kevin just mentioned it. You know, we've reached a milestone of 10. Has never happened before. 11 just ups the ante, and certainly would be very meaningful, not just to our seniors, but the reason it's most meaningful is to our players. It'd be an accomplishment that's certainly never been done, but an accomplishment that they would remember for a lifetime. And these guys have worked hard to get to this point, and certainly there's a lot on the line in this one, but I'm anxious to see how our guys approach that challenge.
Back here in the back.
Coach Sumlin, can you talk about what you've seen on tape as far as the strengths that Duke will bring to the football field on offense and on defense?
No, we have a lot of respect for Coach Cutcliffe. We've talked about that a bunch. You look at this football team we're going to play. They've been in big games. You know, you don't beat Miami and Virginia Tech and North Carolina and NC State by just kind of walking out there. Well coached, physical football team, talented players on the perimeter offensively, play extremely hard. I think across the board, and you know, don't make very many mistakes. And I think when you see a team that plays that way, that has given them the opportunity in the fourth quarter to be in those football games, and when you win close games the way they've done this year, you gain confidence, and that's what I see. I see a team that's well coached, well disciplined, and very, very confident and poised and at the end of the game, which means it's a real difficult challenge for us. And you know, you look through the year and what they've been able to do across the board, and to represent their side in the division to get to the ACC championship game. You know, it's going to be a real challenge for us New Year's Eve.
Back here.
Coach Cutcliffe, I know that a lot of the focus on Texas A&M is on Johnny Manziel, but can you talk a little bit about their running game and how, I guess, ferocious at times it can be when he hands the ball off?
Yeah, well, first of all, it starts, Kevin mentioned this up front. If you look at, they've got an All-American at tackle, and they've got outstanding people up front. They have the ability to run zone read, which means certainly the ball's going to go to the back. They can dictate power. They can dictate just giving the ball off on zones, stretch, and their backs all have great ability. So, again, it goes back to we've got a big-time difficult job to match up front. You just can't let those backs get started. And people get too focused on Johnny Manziel. There's a lot of ways that Texas A&M is going to beat you outside of Johnny Manziel throwing or running the football.
Okay, right here.
Hey, Kevin, how much different do you think it is for Matthews that he came back? What do you think? I mean, would he have been a top 10? I don't know what his valuation was, but what was the difference for him returning this year?
I think, you've got a couple different scenarios, meeting with those guys after the Cotton Bowl last year, the evaluation that we got from the NFL and some of the people that, we have the ability to talk to in the National Football League gave us the information that to help the families make a decision. And obviously Luke leaving, that was the best thing for him, being the number 2 overall pick. Jake was a little bit different. The information we got was that he was a later first round, maybe 25 to 32 or early second round pick. And I think there's a real lesson there. I think he's played his way this year probably into the top 10. And there's a significant difference financially between 32 and 1 through 10, and there's I think there's a lesson there for a lot of guys, and that's the kind of information that we try to share with individual players, try to share with families, and help them make an educated decision based on the information that we can obtain. And I think in Jake's situation, him coming back and playing the way he's played has increased his value, and I think there's a lesson to be learned from that for a lot of players.
All right, here in the back.
Kevin, can you talk about this senior class and how everything that they've gone through, from conference moves to losing seasons, new coach, things like that, and how they've handled it and done what they've been able to do to get to this point?
Yeah, it's really amazing. I was just talking with those guys yesterday. They came to Texas A&M, and you look up 4 years, 5 years later, you're playing in a new league. You got a new coach. You got all kinds of new facilities. It's a completely different situation than they entered into, and it takes a lot for young people to handle that, and that's why I'm really proud of these guys. We don't have very many, but what they've been through and how they've handled it, I couldn't be prouder of them. Number one, because we've had a number of them graduate before we even got here to the bowl site, and ultimately, that's what we're in this for. And these guys have accepted not only the move to the league, they accepted me and a new coaching staff, and have really done things the right way, and have really kind of set the tone. Not kind of, but have set the tone for where this program's headed, and I couldn't be more appreciative of them.
Okay, right over here on the left.
Kevin, I was wondering if you talked about Manziel and then Matthews' decision on coming back. One of the guys, Mike Evans, is going to have that decision. I wonder if you could just talk about the evolution that you've seen from him since you first saw him when you were at Houston to the player that he is now, just as a sophomore.
Well, he played 1 year of high school football. So, by the way, we should have just played a basketball game. Your guys dunking, and our guys are dunking like crazy at the Atlanta Hawks game the other day. A bunch of basketball guys. He's improved. He's really only played 3 years. He redshirted as a freshman, and has played 2 years of college football. continues to get better. Big, strong guy. You know, he's his best days are ahead of him, I think. You know, because of the fact that he continues to get better because he hasn't played a lot of football, but he's you know, he's got exceptional ability because of his size. And I think, as I've said before, the thing that I think separates him from a lot of people is the fact that he will play as hard without the ball as he plays with the ball, and as a blocker, as a you know, doing things that creates an attitude on the perimeter that we need, and you know, he's going to continue to get better.
Corey?
This for both of you. Obviously, you both had some pretty prolific quarterbacks in your time, David with the Mannings and Kevin with Johnny Manziel and Case Keenum before. What's the main ingredient or the key factor in taking that unique talent at a quarterback position and getting them to the point where they're, you know, at a whole other stratosphere?
Go ahead. Well, you know, it's for me to be sitting here and for you to say that with a guy that and David that I have a huge amount of respect for. And developing quarterbacks and the approach to the game, and a guy that I steal stuff from all the time. You probably didn't know it. I probably watched more video of him as a younger coach, as an assistant coach, and what he's done and training tapes and different things. You know, we talk all the time about, you know, 3 areas of accuracy, of poise, and game management. And, you know, when you have a guy that can get 2 of those 3, you've got a chance to win, I think. And when you have a guy that you get 3 of those 3, you're going to win a lot of games. And, you know, that's something you continue to work on as a coach. And I think the thing that's different about Johnny is his ability to make our play call right, and whether it's a really, really bad call or not, he has the ability to change that, not only at the line of scrimmage but after the ball snap, which is a whole different dimension.
You know, Kevin just mentioned something. All of them are different, number one. So I think the most important thing is to recognize their strengths and what they can do to beat people. Really, what he just said is when they call a play, there's 2 plays potentially are going to happen. One, the one they've got called, and then the one he's getting ready to execute when everything changes. And he does both of those well. With our guys, it's sometimes the same thing. When you train a quarterback, you want them to know everything you know, and then they have to be the functional part. They have to be the decision maker. So the thing that I've always done most is that when they step on campus, I'm making them make decisions. I want everything by choice and not by chance. And so it's just a mentality. And then certainly we're not supposed to recruit them if they don't have the ability to be accurate with the ball, have command of the football, and be able to have the poise and the athleticism to play the position. But I really believe that it's always got to be choice, not chance. And you've got to make young people think that way. That's a big, big deal in their lives as they move forward, and it certainly is at quarterback.
All right, we over here on the left.
David, just following up on that, how much different? I know that your offense is a little different than when you had both the Mannings. How has that changed, maybe how you evaluate quarterbacks through the recruiting process than 10, 15 years ago?
You know, first of all, let me say this in their defense. Peyton and Eli and Schuler and others we've had are much more athletic than people think. They're just big, big guys. But we certainly made a decision as we got involved at Duke, trying to find the best way to win football games as to who we could recruit. So we really are a little more involved in looking for dual threat quarterbacks. We do want the ability to run the football. When we finished at Ole Miss, we had a young man by the name of Robert Lane that we had evolved into that in 2004 and was playing really, really well at the end of that season. So we've had a lot of this in our system. But it has changed, to be real honest with you, as to what we're looking for. it gets the numbers right for you a little bit. It's another hat that they have to defend in the run game. We're not an overly big, dominant, physical football team, so it allows us to be a little faster.
All right, we got time for 2 or 3 more. Where are we going to go next? All right, right here in the front.
Coach Cutcliffe, how have you used the process of the bowl loss in Charlotte as motivation for your team this time around? And what would it mean to them to get the first bowl win for Duke in a really, really long time?
You know, I really didn't have to use it. I've said this back home, back during the spring. Our first team meeting after the Belt Bowl a year ago, I was really anxious. That was the first time we would have the 2013 team together. I had a sick feeling in my stomach for the way we lost the ball game. I knew we had prepared well and we played well, but we made the mistakes that get you beat. I was anxious to see the response of our team in that meeting, and I think that's where the roots of this team were. I didn't need to say a lot. I saw and felt the same things that I was feeling in that team, in the leadership of that team. The term finish was one that the players coined themselves. And, you know, we didn't finish. We didn't finish the fourth quarter. We didn't finish the season. It's a big challenge when you're playing in a bowl game, particularly one of this magnitude. You're playing against a great football team. So to finish is not going to be easy. And so we took from that point on, nothing we were going to do was going to be easy. And you hope that's enough. But the bottom line is it's the process. They've been through the process now. Win or lose, they've been through the process. We're better. We're better for having lost that game, as hard as it is to say that, than maybe if we had found a way to win late. So we'll see how we finish.
All right, back here, Larry.
A little holiday humor for you. I don't know if you saw the game yesterday, but the Falcons gave up more sacks than you guys probably would give up combined tomorrow. Coach, someone just curious, you've got your young man, Matthews, and a lot of the draft boards that the Falcons may be looking at him. Talk about his skill set and how he fits in the next level with possibly coming here to Atlanta.
Well, you know, he's obviously comes from great bloodlines. It starts there. With you know, his dad has done was a great player as a coach now, and I think Jake approaches this game as almost in a professional manner. How he eats, how he works out, how he studies video, and obviously he's you know, the move to move him from right to left tackle was a big deal for him this year. And as I said before, I think it has helped his value. You know, and is really a lesson to a lot of players that you can actually make money by staying in school and improving your skills and improving your value. But he will be successful. He's been successful not only on the field, but he is what my favorite kind of player. He is a low-maintenance, great player, and there's not a whole lot of those left out there anymore. But he's a guy you don't even know he's there until he runs out on the field, plays extremely hard, and he will be successful at the next level.
All right, we're going to go back here in the back.
Coach Sumlin, how different is this Duke team because of the layoff after the ACC championship game that you're going to see tomorrow night than what they were when the ACC championship came in? Time-wise, how much better are they going to be?
I don't know. I mean, it's in this time of year, you know, how your team responds, you know, after a layoff. As a coach, as David said, you know, you prepare. You have a belief in the way that you prepare your team, and then you kind of sit on the edge and wait for that opening kickoff to see where they are with their response. Because, you know, unless you're doing a lot of different things because of that layoff, you know, it's kind of like the first game of the year. I think you watch a lot of bowl games now, and you know, critical things of tackling, ball security, things that happen early in the season become big deals because of the layoff. And, you know, we try to worry about what we do and how we approach the game. And you know, I think, as I said before, I like how we've prepared, particularly since we've been here in Atlanta. And I'm anxious to see how our guys are going to respond New Year's Eve.
All right, time for a couple more. We'll go right back here.
Coach Cutcliffe, how much have you talked about that, the start of the ACC championship game, the intensity that your team came out with and whatnot, and being able to sustain that going into this bowl game, and how much of an impact that can be if they have that type of intensity for 60 minutes?
We played well early, as everyone knows, in that ball game. We couldn't sustain it. You certainly know, and we've talked about it, to play a team of this magnitude, you've got to sustain that intensity level and that level of execution, really, for 60 minutes. And we can't get ourselves behind in a game like we did. So it goes back to preparation. It goes back to practice. You can be emotional, certainly need to be. You need to be intense, but you've got to execute. And so our focus has been on execution and sustaining that execution from the very beginning of practice all the way through to the end. That's the best way to learn to play a complete game.